The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hello, welcome to All About Kids, a program focusing on the interests of children and young people and some of the issues affecting them. Taxes are both an interest and an issue affecting all families. And our guests today, Carolyn Hendrixson of Congregations Concerned for Children, Jim Smith of the West 7th Community Center in St. Paul, and Jean Sazevich of the Sheltering Arms Foundation will be talking about the Earned Income Tax Credits and the Working Family Tax Credits available to low-income families here in Minnesota.
Hi, and welcome to All About Kids. The goal of today's program is to share some valuable information about how working families in Minnesota can substantially boost their income by tapping into existing tax credits. As you know, we have two guests here with us today to talk about how the federal Earned Income Credit and the state Working Family Credit result in more money for families with children. The guests are Carolyn Hendrixson and Jim Smith. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
But before we hear from Carolyn and Jim, I would like to provide a brief overview of what the credits are. The Federal Earned Income Credit is a refundable income tax credit for working families with at least one child living at home. The child can be a foster child or a grandchild. Family income must be less than $23,050 per year, and that income must be from a job or from self-employment. The credit is either subtracted from taxes you owe or paid out to you in a refund. You can receive the credit even if you did not owe taxes or pay taxes in the previous year. And the state Working Family Credit uses the same eligibility criteria and adds 15% to the amount of the federal refund, thereby boosting the total received by the family. Now, last year, roughly 140,000 Minnesota families received both the federal and the state credits. The average combined refund was about $1,000, although some families received up to $2,700. And the number of families who received refunds last year was higher than the previous year due to a wonderful outreach campaign that was conducted by the Minnesota Alliance for Children in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Revenue and the IRS. The Minnesota Alliance for Children is a collection of organizations who came together in 1992 with the goal of improving the well-being and economic security of families with children in the state of Minnesota. Members of the Alliance include grant-making foundations such as Sheltering Arms, the McKnight Foundation, the St. Paul and Minneapolis Foundations, both the St. Paul and Minneapolis United Ways, child advocacy organizations such as the Children's Defense Fund and Congregations Concerned for Children, social service agencies such as West 7th Community Center, policymakers and others who really care about making a positive difference in the lives of children. The sole project of the Alliance this year is to continue its outreach efforts to make sure that all the families who qualify for the federal and state credits receive them. The Minnesota Department of Revenue and the IRS, along with Alliance members, have committed significant energy and resources to this task. Now, both the West 7th Community Center and Congregations Concerned for Children are members of this outreach campaign and have really played key leadership roles. Carolyn, can you explain why you think it's important that this campaign be conducted? Why is it that the word really needs to get out about these credits?
The word needs to get out because it will benefit children, and those children especially who are in low-income working families. And the credit is really going to make a difference in the lives of those families. The credit was originally passed in Congress in 1975, and there were 3 reasons why the credit would help families. One is it would provide more income for those families that have low-paying jobs. Secondly, it would offset the cost that comes out of the paycheck for Social Security taxes. And third, it makes work a viable alternative to public assistance. And so this makes a difference in the lives of families. It also recognizes some things about families. It recognizes that in today's economy, families can work full-time and still struggle to meet their basic needs of their shelter costs, their child care costs, transportation, food and clothing. Even though they're working full-time, there's so many low-paying jobs in our economy right now, they really struggle to make it. And yet families want to be working. The credit also recognizes that it costs money to raise children. As a matter of fact, if a family applies for the credit for the 1993 tax year and they happen to have a child in that year, they will get $338 credit for that child, recognizing that yes, if you have children, it costs money to raise them. The credit also really does make a difference in the lives of family. As you said, it's almost $1,000 was the average credit that a family received. Well, in the Twin Cities area, that means a lot. That can mean a whole nother month of income for a family. It can mean that will cover the rent for a family, so the rent money can be freed up for other basic necessities like food and clothing, winter coats, sneakers for kids who are in junior high, that kind of thing. It really makes a difference in kids' lives. And I also think that the credit makes a psychological difference in families' lives. The families that I know who have received it, as they're filling out their taxes and they get to the point where they realize they're going to get this credit, it really is a support. It's like a relief. It's like, oh, somebody recognizes that I'm out there trying to work, trying to raise my kids, and I'm going to be rewarded for it. So it really is good public policy and makes a difference in the lives of families with children.
Now, Jim, I know that at the West 7th Community Center, you and your staff there come in daily contact with families who have lower incomes, families with young children, and families who've received the credit. Could you share with us some of the stories you've heard about the impact the credit has made in their lives?
Sure, be glad to, Jean. As Carolyn said, this is a significant financial impact for these families. Most of the families will use it for daily cash flow kinds of items to keep their families together, food, clothing, and shelter. Some of the families that we have worked with have used it for a variety of things. One family, for example, set aside the $900 or so to use for a reserve fund. Perhaps the first time in their life they've had such a thing around for them. And they used it for school clothes, they used it for school lunches, and it helped relieve some of the stress that we all feel when we don't have any kind of reserves at all. This is very important to these families. It helps their self-image. It helps them feel that they have some monies that they can pull out in need. They don't have to say to their children, wait till next month. So this was very helpful to the whole family in this situation. Another family was able to purchase a used car, and I can't get too much for $900, but it runs. And they were able to become more efficient in getting their children to appointments and for their own errands. And it meant a great deal to them to have this kind of independence, which they did not have before. The third family is a single mother whose son was very ill with a life-threatening disease. And part of his healing process, she felt, was to promise him that she would take him on a little vacation if he got better. And thank God he did get better. So she was able to reward him in this kind of way so that it helped her strengthen her relationship with her son and help them celebrate the fact that they were able to enjoy health again. So I think it goes way beyond the money involved here. It speaks to issues of care in a family. It speaks to issues of parents feeling they're able to do things for their children, that they're a little more in charge of that arena of their life. It's a little less stressful for them. So it relieves much of this and helps families move on to some other things that they have to work on in their own family units.
How wonderful. You know, I think too often we really neglect to stop and hear and think about the human impact of public policy and taxes. And Carolyn, you mentioned that the credits are really designed to be an incentive for families to earn their income. Can you then talk about whether families who rely on public benefits such as aid to families with dependent children qualify for the credit, and then about the impact, if any, on public benefits that people are getting if they receive the credit. Will those benefits be reduced?
Not if they receive the credit. Their benefits will not be reduced. People who receive AFDC, Social Security benefits, housing subsidies, food stamps, those credits, as long as you're also earning some income, you can qualify for the tax credit, and your income from those benefits will not be reduced by getting that tax credit.
What kind of employment can count towards receiving the credit? Does it have to be a type of employment where they'll, get a form from their employer, or
They can be self-employed as well as working for another person.
But then they would probably just need to document that income somehow.
That's right.
That's really good that the credits then don't negatively impact such important benefits such as food stamps and those safety net programs that we all really know keep the children in our society healthy and families together. I would imagine that really finding the forms, filling them out, filing them, going through all of those steps in the process is really quite a barrier to a number of families who qualify for the credit. Jim, I'm sure that with your contact with families, you've experienced some of the other barriers that these families are having to really receiving the benefits they've earned.
Right, Jean. One of them is just lack of information. We all sometimes don't communicate as well as we want. I'm amazed. My children come home from school and they'll tell me something that I've read 3 times, but I've forgotten it. So it's a very normal thing to communicate. We have to communicate it very, very clearly that this credit is out there for people. There are some language issues. More and more of our families are non-English speaking families, many of them low income, so we have to make sure that we can address that issue. I think one of the largest barriers is a fear or a distrust of government bureaucratic stuff, things like that. That families feel there's a lot of paperwork to that. They feel they're going to sort of get in trouble once they get involved with these things. So that they have to really be in touch with somebody that they trust. It's either a friend or a worker, and we work hard with our workers to make sure that relationship is there with those families. They have to have somebody show them what benefit can really come out of this and help them through the process. So in our mind, that's one of the key things. The other thing that we try to point out to families is that even if they have failed to file for a few years, they can come out ahead because they can file back for the earned income credit. So often, not always, but often they'll come out ahead and they won't have that worry in the back of their mind that they haven't filed and they're delinquent and they're in some kind of trouble. So we feel that this also helps relieve some of the stress. But we do have to work at these barriers. They're there and they're real, and we continue to work at them so that people can have access to this wonderful event that can help them and their families.
It's my understanding that a family can file for 3 back years.
That's correct.
For the earned income credit and the working family credit. Just think about, that number adding up for 3 years of the average refund. That would be an enormous benefit to a family. Speaking of the barriers, I just want to let you know that the outreach campaign of the Alliance for Children and the Department of Revenue and the IRS really has been trying to address some of the barriers head on. For example, we have trained staff from agencies such as the West 7th Community Center who come in contact on a one-to-one basis with families who qualify to make sure that those staff people have all of the information that they need to help a person file. We've recently added to our list of grocery stores who are willing to put flyers in the bags of their customers, and flyers are also going to be distributed through the Food Shelf Network. We've promoted the sites where volunteers are able to assist individuals fill out their tax forms. These are called VITA sites, and currently there are over 400 sites throughout the state where volunteers help people fill out their tax forms for free. I mean, that can save a family $100 right there, without using one of the services to fill out and file the form. And lastly, one of the really neat things that's happened is we've partnered with employers who will provide information directly to employees who might qualify. Recently, the Mall of America has agreed to encourage their merchants out there at the mall to publicize the credits directly to their employees. But of course, there is always more that can be done. And we would like you to consider ways in which you can help get the word out about the credits. And Carolyn, I'm going to ask you just to offer some suggestions here about what individuals can do to help get the word out.
First of all, I think if they're aware of the availability of the credit and they know of families, people in their own family, neighbors, friends who might qualify, just spread the word. Let them know, do you know about this credit? And put them in touch with people who can give them more information about it. We've been mailing it during this month of January to all the congregations throughout the state. Along with the Catholic Charities, we've reached out to every single congregation in the state, and we have sent them a camera-ready bulletin insert. And so we ask the leadership of the congregation to reprint that insert, put it in the bulletin, and then during a religious service make an announcement that draws people's attention to the availability of this credit. Through our joint outreach efforts last year, 10,000 more families received the credit, and the Department of Revenue estimates there are 10,000 more families out there. And I think that if each of us can be aware of it, just make a little bit of effort. It doesn't take much to copy a bulletin insert and stick it in your bulletin. Just draw some attention to it. In congregations also, that's a place where a lot of families come for a variety of services, and not just religious services, sometimes family support services. So if the congregations can contact the Department of Revenue and put up posters about the information, or keep the bulletin inserts in a pile where other people can get that information, I think that's real important. And I think that the point about the Mall of America, I mean, they put it in their newsletter. They have 11,000 employees there, and if businesses put it in their newsletter, a lot of people will see it and become more aware of it.
And Jim, what can staff or volunteers at agencies such as yours, or employers, again, what kinds of other options for promoting the credits exist?
Jean, we have to be aggressive about this. We work with our staff consistently to make sure that they bring this up to every family that they deal with, that this is an important benefit that can help them financially. We put posters up, we distribute flyers, we mention it at our staff meetings. We have in fact, we have two groups, VITA and another group that works doing people's income tax during that period. Now we have a year-round person by appointment that helps at our center also, free. All this is free. So that has been wonderful. This is one of the benefits of the relationship that we have with the IRS and with the State Department of Revenue. I think it's been these kinds of relationships that have helped this campaign do what it has so far, so that we try to get the word out in every way that we can. The most important aspect, we think, is still this trusting relationship that this family has with this worker or with this pastor or with this friend or neighbor that has done it before. And we work very much in that informal kind of way to make sure we're nourishing those informal relationships, because that's where we feel it happens most often.
So if you feel that you could help reach lots of people who may qualify for the credit, and if you'd like to receive information and publicity materials, please call the Minnesota Department of Revenue at 297-5487. They'll send you all the materials you need for distribution, and there are materials available, lots of them, for non-English speakers. So again, please call 297-5487 for publicity materials. And of course, as we've all said, please, if you qualify, or if you know someone who does qualify for the credit, please let them know. There is one number to call if you need tax forms, if you have questions about whether you qualify, or if you want to know where your nearest VITA site is. And again, those are the sites where you can have the tax forms filled out for free by a trained volunteer. The number is 1-800-937-KIDS. 1-800-937-KIDS. The campaign so far has been so impressive, I think, because there's this shared sense of knowing what we're about, what we're doing through the campaign, is making that bottom line positive difference in the lives of families. I mean, it's so immediate, it's so rewarding, it's right there.
It's real.
It's
Yes,
real. It's
right.
what families need. It's not just rhetoric,
Right.
it's bang, a substantial dollar impact. And in addition to knowing, the positive, wonderful stories such as you shared, Jim, the difference in the individual's life, I think it's really important too to, realize there's a cumulative economic impact from these credits going into individuals' pockets. Now, Jim, I understand there has been some sort of tabulation of the economic broader impact, and could you share that information with us?
Sure, Jean. And the impact is very strong. Statewide, $129 million comes into the hands of low-income families. 7-county metro area, over $50 million comes right into the purses and the wallets of our low-income families. And what they do with that money, obviously, is spend it on very important things: groceries, clothes for their children, the gas station in your community. So that money becomes reinvested back into our local communities. So this becomes, I think, a very important economic development program for our communities. It feeds directly the economy, and the economy at a very basic and good level on the needs of people. So the impact is, I think, much broader than the families. It becomes something that helps the economies of our local communities. It helps, in an extended sense, provide jobs for people. And it feeds this money back into circulation that these families are using to help feed and clothe their own families, their own children. So that is, I think, one of the most important aspects of the whole program, is the broad effect that it has on our communities. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
That is just amazing. I mean, I'm not a trained economist, but I can imagine the multiplier effect of, the direct money that people are getting. I mean, the impact that you've just cited, the numbers you cited, have a multiplier effect that we don't know yet, but we believe it exists out there. Carolyn, you work very often in the political arena, in the policy arena, trying to educate people about the issues of children and families. Can you talk about what those numbers, the economic impact numbers, mean to you and your work of really trying to build a coalition of people who support the credits?
Well, I think it makes it very easy to bring together a wide variety of people. And I think that the Minnesota Alliance for Children itself is representative of that this was the issue that broad coalition could coalesce around. Because there are people in that coalition, as well as people at the legislature, who would support the expansion of the working family tax credit or the continuation of it. And some of those people are people who care about children, who want to improve the lives of children. Some of them are people who want to improve the business community, the business environment in our state. So they'll be supportive of this, because this money isn't going to a foreign country. This money is being spent right in our community. For those people who think it's very important that families get out there and work and are not reliant on public assistance, although sometimes there are times in families' lives where they need to rely on that emergency support. People who have that kind of view of families are supportive of this, because this rewards families who go into the workforce and earn income. And also people who care about families, want families to be stronger, support family values, those kinds of issues. All those people can come together and be supportive of this, and it's a policy that has been supported from the very beginning in Congress and then through the Minnesota legislature by bipartisan support.
And for those of you who have been paying attention to national politics, and President Clinton's package included quite significant expansion of the federal earned income credit, which will go into effect in tax year 1994. So I think it's even more important at this point to get the word out about the credits to families who qualify.
And I think too it's a policy that doesn't require a lot of social workers or building up a bureaucracy. If you like to reform government as well, this is a policy that goes right through the existing tax structure, and it's a credit that's easily refundable to families and goes right into their pocket. It couldn't be simpler, and it's a real positive impact for families and communities.
Great. Well, now that you have been informed about the personal and the broader positive impact of the earned income and working family credits, we really hope that you too will take a role in spreading the word about the credits to those you know in your community. There are many, many more families out there, as Carolyn said, about 10,000 is the estimate at least, who've earned the credits and who qualify for them, who need them, and you can reach those people as well. So I really want to thank you, Carolyn, Jim, for coming and sharing this great information with us. And thank you for watching.
I hope that the viewers who qualify for this program will apply for it this year. Thank you, Carolyn Hendrixson, Jim Smith, Gene Sazevich. Thanks to all of you for joining us in All About Kids. Please tune in again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency. We thank you for watching, and we hope you visit your public library often.